Welcome to Sober Talk. I'm Dennis and I'm an alcoholic. Sober today thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous. If you or anyone you know is struggling with alcohol, please call Alcoholics Anonymous on 1300 222222 or visit their website at aa.org.au. I'll just run through the preamble of Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for a membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. It is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses or opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety.
Hi, my name is Rosie. I'm an alcoholic. And thank you so much for having me here. I'm super, super grateful to be here because it helps me connect with you and you connect with me, but also because I feel like I'm at a stage I do need to reflect on my spirituality and I think that, this is going to help me. And like I said, I love being able to connect with you all. And I think, to do that, we start off with the identification, and I can go into my story a little bit, but I would like to sort of link it a lot back to the spiritual stuff, because I remember coming to this meeting in my very early days, desperate for help with it because I was so stuck. And I think, the guest speaker probably said lots of wonderful things, but I didn't hear it. It didn't save me. It didn't it wasn't spiritual enough or something. So I, got grumpy about it because I did just want something out there to save me, to make me feel better. And that never worked. And my sobriety date is the 6th of November, 2018. And that was my first day in a therapeutic community, in a rehab. And I'm really grateful for that place because I had been taken to a couple of AA meetings by people before that, and I don't remember them, and I wasn't open to it. Like I mentioned, I was super blocked with the spiritual side of this, and some people say the entire thing's spiritual, but I think there was a lot of barriers between me and opening up to it. And the first one is a language barrier. I just didn't really, my meaning or understanding of spirituality was sort of woo-woo. It sort of meant not true or not real. And that's certainly changed. And when I look back now, there was lots of I think spiritual things in my life. Or my dad, for instance, would never call himself spiritual. In fact, far from it. He would he's anti-theist, and but he's actually one of the most spiritual people I know, in the sense that he's so generous, and he wants to always give. He doesn't put himself first in any situation, and there's just so many wonderful morals and philosophies that he lives by that I have as well, but they couldn't save me. They couldn't save me growing up. I really wanted to be a good person. I had good intentions. I had so many good intentions, but at the end of the day, my comfort, my need to comfort myself from my discomfort in the world always won out, and that was through alcohol and other drugs. Just anything really. I felt different as a kid, and there's things that happened in my life, but I feel like I was just born in a way that no matter what it was, there was going to be something along the way that made me feel not good enough and different and alone and all those things. And so no matter what my parents did, they meant really well. I feel like I was just destined to feel like that, and that's okay. It all, these days I can be so grateful for all those things because it means I'm useful in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I remember it being told to me in the early days that all of my struggles would actually become assets because they would allow me to help others, and that's come true in ways I can barely describe. But yeah, when I found alcohol, I was everything was okay, and I didn't realize how quickly things I was using it all the time. I was a party animal at first, and I just would scheme with all my friends to get and all our pocket money together for the weekends, but it quickly bled into the week, and I was using it as a coping mechanism for the discomfort I mentioned, which came in the forms of panic attacks and depression and all these things. And I was shipped off to health professionals about it, at a really early age and counselling and things like that. And there was just something wrong with me that was never really identified. And it, like puberty was just painful, and it all became worse. And I felt like I knew I was going down a bad path with the drinking and the other sort of chemicals and that I was using. But I think there's just that assumption you'll grow out of it or something, or I don't know. It just like before I knew it, I was in so deep that it was just easier to swim down, and I just accepted that was my life. And I got married for the wrong reasons. I just for the comfort and the perceived security that he provided me with, and he grew to open, so sort of like helpful, but he really didn't like my drinking, and he would control that for me, I guess, and so that was part of the, I guess, what I liked about that relationship as well, is he controlled my drinking, but it just didn't work because, like I said, I can have really good intentions, and every now and then I'd try and get my life together, and it was always tomorrow I'd do this and I'd do that, and I kept just like coming to and realizing I hated my life and everything in it, and just wanting to end it, and I'd end up in a psychiatric ward or a psychiatric hospital, and I'd come out just on more drugs and medications, and those like cycles were just getting shorter and shorter because I'd kind of try and get on the straight and narrow for a bit. But it just kept, I just kept going back to circling the drain, and like I said, I had good parents. They were educated and they meant well. I didn't, want for too much. Really love. I mean, I like by nature, I sort of am always wanting more. But as far as being sheltered and fed and things like that, everything was okay. And I had 2 different households, one with just me and my dad, and the other one with my mum and my stepdad and my 5 other sort of half and step siblings. And like I said, my dad was like anti-theist. He was an altar boy, and he won't talk about what happened back in England, but he certainly didn't have any nice things to say about anything like that. And I'd never really stepped into a church or anything, or said a prayer in my life, or even considered that there was anything beyond what we could touch, smell, see, taste, and hear. And there was just that strong like materialism. He was a physics and maths teacher, and my mum was I think she had a spirituality. She we never went to church. She didn't have any religious practices, but she seemed to have some sort of, I guess, interest in, I don't know, like her mum was an artist, and she was a writer and a poet, and I guess there was just that sort of like there was a magic in life that she was open to. I don't really remember ever talking to her about any of this, and she passed away during the depths of my alcoholism. But yeah, I'd love to talk to her about it now, and I sometimes do. And I guess I think my grandma had a spirituality that I would love to have been able to discuss with her now as well. But basically, what my parents did share and passed on to me was this curiosity, I guess, of life, and in a sense, and a creativity and a curiosity from the science and writing sort of as what they taught in my life. I guess I found myself super enchanted by art and by seeking knowledge in particular in certain areas, and I had this childlike wonder in me, but it was just there was that dark sort of side that would creep in, this crippling self-doubt. And like I said, I don't know where it came from. There might have been certain things in life that contributed to it, but like I said, I think I could have just inserted anything and I would have ended up the way I was, not feeling like I could cope with anything. And it just helped me cope. Drinking alcohol, it just helped me feel okay. Obviously I had it to have fun and all of that, but really, especially towards the end, it was just to feel okay. It was just to live another day. And, I certainly didn't want recovery. I got, my first choice was to die, but there was that whole, worry about the family. And I lost my uncle to suicide due to this disease. And I just didn't want to, I saw the destruction that I had in my family, and, I just felt so guilty about that. Whereas, so I just, and I just felt guilty all the time, really. But that was something that definitely didn't stop me thinking about, taking my life all the time, but stopped me from actually doing it. But towards the end, those breakdowns that I would have where I'd just end up in hospital and they were just getting so close, and I was at my last one. And I remember it was like, I think my first surrender was just, I was at it was bushed off with a friend, and I'd had enough stuff to kill a horse several times over, and it wasn't taking me far enough away from that horrible feeling anymore. It was like I couldn't outrun that crippling anxiety and depression, or whatever you want to call it, anymore. Like, it wasn't working like it used to. And I just remember just saying to her, like, you need to drop me at my dad's house, because I'm gonna take my life. And I just on my knees said to her, take me to hospital. And that was the last time I had to do that. And in that last psychiatric admission, it was suggested I maybe look at a rehab. And like I said, I wasn't really interested in trying to live the rest of my life. I was just about to turn 30. I wasn't interested in a life without any alcohol at all. But I just thought maybe until my dad passes on, I could just white knuckle it until he goes. And so before I knew it, I was like, even though it was a horrendous wait list, I don't remember, it was Groundhog Day. Hey, I'd just get up and go to the chemist and the bottle and back home and just smoke and drink myself until the end of the day, and get up the next day and repeat. It was just this horrible Groundhog Day, and ended up in that rehab. And I started coming to these meetings, and like I said, I'd apparently been to some before, I don't remember. And I didn't really like anyone here, or the idea of any of it. The way the Serenity Prayer is written looks really culty and weird, and I didn't want to borrow of any of it. And I was like, had, like, in the book, in our appendix to it, says there's a contempt prior to investigation. I just had that all over. But the people that were leaving the rehab and not sort of going to meetings ended up relapsing straight away, sort of thing. And just for pure statistics, I just thought, well, like, if all I have to do is go to these meetings and listen to a bunch of people and to keep from having to go back to rehab or go back to the psych hospital, then I'll do it. Small price to pay. And so I was going to these meetings. I wasn't really hearing anything, I don't think, at the start. I just thought we were here to talk about what it was like and complain about our day. And I didn't, hear much else of what was being talked about, I guess. I wasn't open yet, but I had, met someone in rehab that I, thought that I was in love with. Because you definitely, going to fall in love with the right person day 2 of rehab. But I was different, especially I started hearing about the tropes about it, and I just thought, I just thought it was going to fix me, I guess. I'd never really spent much any time single. My ex-husband I'd moved out with at 17, and that was only freshly over. But this person, I sort of put all my time and energy, really, that became my higher power. The obsession to drink alcohol and his other drugs was removed because I had this new obsession. And I do find that alcoholism is a disease of that mind, and when it's obsessing, that's the disease, and it can obsess over anything. And I've tried to obsessing over everything to stop that miserable feeling deep down inside, and none of it's worked until I've done the 12 steps. But that didn't work either. But in doing that, he was religious, so I was going to church, and I was trying really hard to pretend. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't open to any of it, but I was really trying. And I just felt like such a fraud there. And I think the back of our coin, say to thine own self be true. And I think that's just such a fundamental part of a recovery, is that I think, over time, I can still be lying to myself about things now, but over time, I just need to keep getting honest with myself with the help of you guys, because if we're not acting, if we're acting someone else, or pretending to be someone we're not, it just corrodes our soul, and it was killing me. And I just was pretending to be, the woman of this person's dreams when I wasn't at all. And it didn't work, right? You can bend over backwards for someone, they're not going to feel that hole in the soul. And it was just so amazing to finally, be, around the right people at the right time. And I've found over the years that keeps happening somehow. And, there's nothing like a man to drive you towards the steps. And that's what happened for me. It was just on the outside, things were looking better, because I was going to TAFE, and I'd got a part-time job, and I was on the outside, things were looking so much better. I was feeling a bit healthier and stuff like that. But internally, I was feeling so much worse. I was feeling those feelings for the first time. It took me a while to defrost, but I was angry, and I was frustrated and confused, and like this person wasn't loving me the right way, and it was just so hard. And so I finally did get the guts to ask someone to sponsor me. I sort of heard about that stuff. I thought someone was meant to come and offer me sponsorship. Like I thought, I just had no idea, and I did not have the humility to ask anyone how this whole thing works. I just sat in the back thinking I was smarter than everyone. And I finally asked. I finally got a number of a woman, and that was so lucky because the COVID shut down everything the day after that meeting, and we had Zoom came up pretty quick, but for a while there was nothing, and I was surviving on going to like gym and work and uni and meetings to stay sober, and then just keep from going insane really, and then all of that fell away, and like I changed really quickly mentally, and I just wanted to go back to hospital, like I was just like, oh. But luckily, this woman had asked me to call her every day, and thank goodness she just had a list of other women I could call. And I was so scared because I hadn't talked to many people in AA, and if they were, I mainly talked to men. And I just I just can't believe how close I got to that not happening, because my recovery truly started after that, because I started reading through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and with another, like with someone who lived through this, and that made all the difference, because while I can intellectually understand something, it's such a different experience to be reading it with someone, and to be really reflecting on all of that stuff, and really truly understanding that step one for the first time, that not only did I have this allergy to alcohol and an obsession with it that meant that on my own I can't stay sober, there was also this unmanageability that I started to develop an understanding of, and starting to see those patterns everywhere. And through my first step 4, I barely knew what was going on, and I barely understood it then, but it was that first, I guess, a cerebral spiritual act that got me to really start to clean house in ways that I'm still developing years and years later, and hope to still keep going with. But seeing the patterns in that, seeing how all through the years I'd always just felt miserable and tried to use something external to feel better, and it was constantly about that instant gratification all the time, and I couldn't rise above that. I said, I'd have these good intentions and I just couldn't. I'd always give in to the quick fix over and over again, and when it wasn't alcohol or drugs anymore, it was a person, or it was food, or it was anything. Just the closest I got was a dog. That's as far as feeling the hole in the soul. I did force that rehab romance to get a dog with me, and that got close. But apart from that, I really had to start looking at this stuff. And I don't know when it happened, when the spiritual experience that makes made everything that's followed possible happen. It's only in hindsight when you start realizing. But and I guess when it comes to what had happened in my life before that, and during those early days of recovery, it's these little things, and it's little things that you hear in meetings from people, and things that you read in the big book, like the chapter to agnostics was so important for me, to really break through some of that intellectual pride. And it's just spelled out. It's like it was written for me. And it was also, and other random things, I went to the Book of Mormon because I was this stoner that loved South Park. And so when that musical came, I was just out of rehab and went to the Book of Mormon, and just even that, if you don't know, the story is, it's about these new Mormons that go to spread the message, and they lose the book, and they end up just having to make it up on the fly. And so the community that they're trying to help starts functioning better, but then they find out it was a lie, and they get angry, but then they go, oh wait, it actually worked. It doesn't matter that it wasn't real. And so in my head, to help crack myself open to this spiritual thing, I sort of was well, it doesn't matter what's real and what's not, because I just had this, the God of reason, as the book puts it. I want to rationalize everything. I want to use my brain, and I want full-on proof and all of that, and I want logic, and I want experiments, and I want all of that. And it just helped be well, it doesn't need that. It doesn't matter what's real. It doesn't matter what's true. If spirituality can work anyway, or this can work anyway. And I was starting to pray, and just realizing it was just a way to wire my brain, and that was enough to get me started on that kind of thing, and to start incorporating the spiritual practices that I just felt so uncomfortable doing at the start. It just felt so foreign to me. I'd never, like I said, even considered uttering a prayer that anything could be outside of us. So it was just so new, and it felt really silly. But I just started to do what my sponsor suggested doing, because she was, everything I said, she had, I was like, oh, I was raised atheist, so I don't know if I can get any of this. She's like, yeah, me too. And you can't argue with that. It's not like, it's not like when the health professionals, the psychiatrists or the doctors like tell you, oh, you've got to do this and you have to do this. Like, I was constantly being told growing up and all of that, like, oh, you've got this and you have to take this or whatever. And that never, obviously didn't work. But then all of a sudden, what's weird is like this woman just sitting opposite me saying, yeah, me too. And this is what I did. And that's the like power of one alcoholic talking to another, right? And so I just, I guess I had this like proof in front of me. If there's like, any, like proof I needed is just through you guys and starting to see that and starting to be open to that. And really what was behind me was such a good reason to be open, like, because I just kept having to be like, well, the way I thought and believed like did not work. I was miserable like most of my life. Like I wanted to die. So like I have to be open to something else if I want to live. And thank like goodness for all the little things that like lined up. And we my siblings, thanks to my mum who loved the first movie when it came out, like we are what I guess we refer to ourselves as a Star Wars family. And like the first sort of like understanding of a higher power, because I didn't like the word or anything higher power, like, or just all of it sounded odd and silly in a way to me or something, like it just that bias and all of that from years and years. So but yeah, the Force is something I could get behind. My first spiritual experience was like the chemical kind when the first time I dropped acid, and I could see the Force when I was a kid. I was a teenager and did that. I remember seeing the Force and like, I mean, there is where is a gravitational force between all of us and everything. So I was able to just sort of like use that at the start and I would look up when I had to, when it was suggested to start doing meditation and stuff. Like there is YouTube, there's like fun Jedi meditations and that next days. And so like that was just, whatever helps it, get us started on these things. And like even now really like the Force is probably how I still sort of like feel about a high power in lots of ways. And I'm actually rewatching all of the movies at the moment. And like, it's making me want to go back to martial arts. The other thing is I did karate as a kid, and I remember my sensei having this like, these beautiful like philosophies and things like that. And I was able to sort of draw on that as well. And also my like love of music and things like that. Because if there's things that like, I guess materialistic science can't always like explain, it's like how I feel when I hear live music or when I dance, or like that creative spirit that humans have, like isn't like 100% explainable with the old theories and beliefs I'd go on. So all that, all those tiny little things and experiences all added to like me just being the tiniest bit open. And I always just think like if you're someone that is new and is struggling or don't know how you can do it, I just feel like if I can open myself up to it, anyone can, because I just can't believe how closed I was for all that time. And I'm so glad I kept coming back. And, obviously like I said, once I got a sponsor and started working the steps, that's when like my true like recovery really started. But, I'm just glad for that year before, at least I was keeping on coming back. And so if, all someone can do at the start is keep coming back. That's, what helped me finally find the solution, because I certainly wasn't open to hearing it was God at the start. And even now, like, because the people ask me like how I'm okay, after a whole life of destruction and self-hatred and all this, like how can I be doing so well now? And it is asked by people, whether it's my GP or whatever, and I still am like, I can't really like say God, like that doesn't sound right, like so I kind of like still like because I'm I guess I have, although I don't have the prejudices against that word now, like the old me knows that most people, like I would have balked at that beforehand. If anyone said that to me, I'd be like, they're crazy. And so I sort of 12-step stuff, it's just the 12-step stuff I do, and they can, whatever it is, because to me that's what like I've gotten from this program that no one else could have given me is God, but that couldn't have come from anywhere else. It had to come from another alcoholic, or groups of them actually, just like you guys. And I think another thing that I was thinking about that helped me be open was that I saw a sign at a meeting saying like, I wish I could remember the exact wording, but just like something about like the measure of our anxiety is at the distance of faith. Oh, right. Is it right there, Eddie? Yeah.
Also man's anxiety is measured at the distance from God. Yeah.
Yes, the measure of a man's anxiety is I'm trying to hit. Oh, thank you so much. I'm just like, oh, sorry, people in the recording. Is the measure of his distance from God. And I think it like clicked to me that it was probably a meeting Eddie was running, that this is a coping mechanism, and it's vastly more than that now. But I think, if I needed anything in those early days, it was a new coping mechanism. And so that like really helped me. But okay, so I've just got to have this faith, and I don't. And Eddie says, first you get hope, then you get faith, and then you get trust. And I was, I guess, getting hope, I guess, subconsciously from you guys that things could be better. And then I was able to develop some sort of blind faith that, if I did some of the things that were being suggested, that like I could be okay. And I just wanted to be okay. I didn't even want to be doing great. And, I'm doing more than great now. But like at the start, it was just, I just wanted to feel okay for 1 second, because I just had this life of feeling so this like deep down turmoil, and on the surface I could settle that all down with whatever chemical I could get. Alcohol was so great for it, and so like on the outside things could seem cool and I could seem all right, but deep down there was just this horrible storm of unrest and discontentment. And now I just feel like it's sort of flipped around. Like deep down I have this like knowing that I'll be okay, and I need to be reminded by you guys a lot, but on the surface, like things get rocking. There's weather, and it goes up and down, but like there's just this deep down knowing now. And I think that's the spiritual experience for me, or awakening, or whatever. And like I said, I don't exactly know when that happened. It was but like I don't know when I stepped over this like invisible line. But everything has come from that now. I've always got that to go back to, and I don't think it's shakeable now. I don't think like once that has happened, like no matter what happens, even if like I drink again or whatever else, like now I know that that's there, and that there's this limitless source that comes from deep down inside of us. That's God or higher power, whatever you like to call it. Like I've always got. I know that there's always going to be like a coping mechanism on offer to me, but yeah, vastly more than that. And now like spirituality means so much more, and like my spiritual health is the most important thing, because without that, I couldn't take care of myself physically or mentally. And I could really want to, but I could never be willing to do anything like that. Reading mentions like I'm super undisciplined, really, really undisciplined. And at the moment, so I heard a couple of phrases today, and that's where I've been at with my like spirituality. And it's like, it was, in terms of business, I'm doing the like, I think minimal viable product. And in terms of like the gym guy, I'm doing like, minimum effective dose. And I can blame my work hours and all kinds of things, but like really I'm just an undisciplined, like lazy alcoholic. And the practices I've been doing and been keeping me like relatively like, in good spirits, no matter what happens. Like even when things are bad, they're good, because I know I'll be okay, and I've always got that. But I'm like at a point where I was thinking speaking tonight is going to be a good way to, like I said, reflect and really like point my focus somewhere. And I was reading today about this Shoshin, the beginner's mind, and I think like I felt like a calling to like be looking into that, and I have to be growing spiritually, or I'm going backwards, and I'm lucky that I go backwards quite quickly, and that I'm always redirected to my spirituality, because like as much as my mind can get run away and think it needs all these other things, like at the moment I'm thinking I'm not here much. Like I keep thinking I need this and I need that. Like I need a house. I need to be saving for a house, and I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that. And like I know that it's just like the mind and the ego, and like really like I just have to be here now, and that I've got everything I need. And if I can't be happy with what I've got now, then I like won't be happy with all of the things I perceive I need on the outside. Like I love this concept. I think it's a Buddhist concept I came across of like, if you can't be happy like washing your teacup, then you're not like truly going to enjoy the tea you drink out of it. And I just like I've learned so many amazing things through you guys, and I like the simple way to put like the spiritual like program of action we have is to trust God, clean house, and help others. And the whole helping others thing was there's been lots of rude awakenings for me to get the spiritual one. And one of them was like, because I was like, I've always done everything for others. All I do is do things for others. And I have this like pathological self-sacrifice. And it was learning that was actually like selfish, because giving to get isn't actually giving. And the reason I was giving was to just feel like if I wasn't a burden. I was just desperate to not feel guilty and like a burden in the world. And that was completely unfounded. But I felt like if I constantly wasn't doing everything for everyone, then I wouldn't be accepted, or wouldn't feel good enough, or you wouldn't love me, or I wouldn't be okay. So it never really worked, giving from this empty cup, because it wasn't given back to me freely. And then I was just left resentful at the world that it wasn't that people weren't loving me right, and I wasn't cared about, and the world wasn't the way I wanted it to be. And there's still things I'd love to change out there in the world. Like there was lots of news on and that as a kid growing up, and I still, and today I sometimes still have to cut my dad off because he wakes up every morning and like starts the day reading The Guardian, and I just don't know how he does it, because I just I can't be focused on that like negative stuff too much, because I'll drink on that forever, that the world like is unjust, and that there's suffering everywhere. And it's just been so beautiful to like have, my port sponsor. I think when I first did my step 4, like I had a lot of structural societal problems as my main resentments, because I'm not one to hate the player or hate the game. And she was just like, but at the end of it, she's just like, well, you're just not God. And I just sort of like, that was enough at the time. And I keep having to bring myself back and just work on being who I want to see in the world. And that's a way to medicate that stuff, that, there is so much unjust stuff, and to really focus on the positive contribution I can make. And the crazy thing, all I wanted, I think, as a kid was to be happy, and then realizing that wasn't going to be a thing. All I wanted was to feel okay, and to not want to die all the time. And it was just this constant pursuit of needing to do that, and with chemicals or whatever other way. But now my like main focus is that just to be useful to others, and a like incredible byproduct of that is like a happiness and contentment that I've never known. And it's not like, once it's found, it's there forever. I have to keep cultivating that, and it comes through that like helping of others, but like giving freely of others. But that's to come from like a full cup. So it means I've got to be like cleaning that house and trusting that God, and taking care of myself in a way that means that I can give freely and not need anything back all the time, because like that old way didn't work. So while it was rude to learn that was a selfish way of self-sacrifice, it's just been immeasurably good insight to know. And self-knowledge is like always enough. I need to keep working on it in ways, and keep being that spiritual seeker. And like the morning readings and listening to you guys is just something that helps so much with that. And at the end of the day, somehow this undisciplined alcoholic can do like some disciplined things if it is in with the intention of being useful for others. And like I didn't think I was going to be able to get off nicotine. Like I just just like where it got like real crazy, obviously in early recovery. I was just like, when I got out of rehab, I was like a 12-year-old boy again. All I wanted was like energy drinks, vapes, and porn. Like it was just like lived on hot chips and ice cream. Like and I had to like grow up a lot. But the nicotine, I really wanted to give it up. I was getting lung infections and all sorts, and like I was, I just was like, it was so hard to feed that habit because I can't do it a normal amount. I was living beyond my means financially with it, and I just started with a new like sponsor, and there was, for no other reason, I just felt this like intuitive like pull to ask her to be my sponsor, and it was just this simple thing. I'm like, oh well, I just turned 5 years sober. I was like, oh well, that's all, you've been sober long enough, and I was like, oh yeah, I can't though. Like, I've tried and whatever I want to, but blah blah. And it was just something the way she framed it of being like, oh, but like be the example of what this program and what God can do. And it was removed. Like I struggled with the withdrawals and lots of other things, and that was the first time I'd felt a chemical withdrawal in 5 years, and I'd burst into tears because it was just like this like trauma of what it was like coming off all of the other things I was chemically addicted to. But it never came back, and I can't believe that I've gone over a couple of years now without nicotine, and I just didn't think that would be possible. And all the times I've wanted it, but there's just no actual desire to go back. And that such like magic to me. And the whole time I was just doing it for me, or like because I think I should, or it's bad for my health or whatever. It just hadn't worked. And those motivations can be like really good for normal people, but I guess it just like there's still that part of me, and I have to love her, and that part of me that has this core belief that, you know, they're not worth anything and all of that. And as long as that, you know, that was going to be around, I was never going to be able to give up for me, because like the efforts could, like, you know, the efforts, I'll just do it, you know, is real easy for me still. Like I can have really good intentions to do things still that I can't like live up to, like go to bed at a reasonable hour, or you know, just like these days they're a lot less lethal, the things that like I find myself giving into. But yeah, I still am baffled that one is, because that's new. I think, like, you know, it's normal for me to not drink now and not want to drink. Like I get to live free now for this program. Like I thought that we just had to keep, you know, psyching each other up like this whole time to not give into it. But like I through the 12 steps and hanging out with you guys and all the things I have been inspired to do in Alcoholics Anonymous in terms of service and things like that, I like have not, had the desire at all to drink. And other people can make it look real nice. Normal people can make drink, but it was never nice for me. And yeah, I thought, I just thought that was going to be a struggle forever. Like I had that whole thing coming into it. I'm like, what am I going to do at Christmas? And what am I going to do when my dad dies? And what am I going to do and this and that? And it just doesn't enter my mind. And like I originally did it for my dad, and now I'd make bargains of like I can start again when I'm like 50, or like when I'm retired, or like, and it just kept creeping forwards. And now I just can't imagine going back, because I just lived such a full and rich life, and everything I wanted from alcohol, like I get from God and from you guys, and that's just the bare minimum. That's the minimum I get. I get so much more than that, and I just get to live free and be around it, as you know, like I get to be designated driver at weddings, and I get to be useful at like I did like 3 weddings last year where I got to be like MC and have all these other responsibilities and drive everyone home on the buses, and it just like I have so much fun doing it. And people think it's some sort of like my family, I don't know, they think it's some kind of heroic thing, or like they and I'm just like, no, it's not me. Like I didn't do anything. All I've done is keep coming back to Alcoholics Anonymous and like follow a few simple suggestions, and sometimes through gritted teeth, and it's just allowed me to live freely of that horrible need to go write myself off all the time. And nowadays when I like when my mind gets busy and I want to escape, I have other ways, and they're not always the first thing I think of, and that's why I'll need a sponsor forever, because I'll always need to be reminded of some of the real basic things, like to just go and, you know, have 10 deep breaths, if it's just that or whatever it is. And I often think of Alcoholics Anonymous like in the same way that a pilot, like it just puts me on the path. And the analogy I use is this one, is that like a pilot, all they're doing, like the flight path is all mapped, and after takeoff it's all just like automatic, but there's weather and there's all sorts of things, and the pilot's job is to just keep putting it back on the path. And I feel like that's Alcoholics Anonymous for me, with my like spiritual journey and pathway in life. And what I'm meant to do is that like I can go off course because of weather and the mind and the ego that's always, you know, thinking about me and wanting my comforts. And you guys, with the help of like the steps and the service and the practices that have been suggested, I do it, just guide me back on course when I get distracted with whatever things that I might think I need or make me feel good for a minute. I keep getting guided back to like a spiritual way of living, which is to be useful. I guess, and it's really fun. Like it can be really fun. I said, you know, like my main objective in life is to be useful, but the second one is to kind of like have fun about it. And it is, and there's lots of like amazing things to do that I've learnt in this fellowship through going to camps and through putting on events. Like I've just learnt to be able to have so much fun in that self-sacrifice. It's not this like doom and gloom and that I'll be forever just like in this bland, everything's about service life. Like it's so colourful and vibrant, and you get to meet the most amazing people. Like I just love that, you know, I can go overseas and go to a meeting and I just walk in and they're just they're strangers, but they're friends, and I get to like meet incredible people, and we're all connected by this common problem and common solution. And it's incredible. I had no idea that I was able to live like this, and that I could have that like sense of peace, and it isn't like easy to keep or like to maintain. And I've recently got my motorbike learners, which is like, little Rosie so amazingly excited. But like I was almost like weeping describing this like quiet that happens because there's so many little things I've got to concentrate on as this new rider I'm going through, and just going through low before that, it was like just like breathtaking views, and I just can't believe I get to do this thing. Like I just never would have been able to manage that without Alcoholics Anonymous. Like any little thing in my life that I get to do, it's amazing, and I just get this quiet, and it's because I have to be here now. Like I have to be in that present moment, and there's nothing else, and like I've felt that without, and like I can't always rely on going on a motorbike to do that. But I've felt that from like simply just being in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous and doing those things, and being like redirected to being here now. And I just am in a place where I'm so like excited for my next chapter. Like there's changes going on. Like after 7 years of recovery, I've been constantly running around trying to make up for lost time and do a million things, and I've had multiple jobs at the same time, and studying, and all these things, and all these committees, and it's been like amazing and so good. But I'm like in a place where I'm having to like learn how to maybe just slow down and soften, and it's just a new chapter to go into. And I've heard of people getting sort of like the 7-year itch or something, and I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's just, I don't think it's a negative thing as such, but the gift of being with you guys and, having access to you forever is that like I'm constantly getting to grow and change, and however much I'm willing to do, I'm able to get and to grow and to be more useful out there. And I have, like I said, like recently just been like rediscovering my like love of the Force, and those concepts that like I guess like I always wanted to have, but like I couldn't access, I couldn't live up to it. It always won out in the end to go back to like my creature comforts, and just being able to finally live. Oh my goodness, I've gone way over time. Why didn't it stop me? Just all those years of wishing I could be someone else. Like I finally just feel like I'm the person that I always drank on not being. Like actually being able to be who I yearned to be in lots of ways, and hated myself for not being, because I get to be true to my word now and be useful, and get up and show up to things I never thought I ever could. And I'm very sorry for banging on so much, but I could talk forever about what I've got from Alcoholics Anonymous and what I want for everyone else in the world. And like if you're here, then you've got access to a life beyond your wildest dreams. So thank you so much. I can't wait.
AA has more than 2 million recovering alcoholics throughout the world. In Australia, there are about 18,000 members. They meet in over 2,000 local meetings spread around the country. Meetings range in size from a handful in some areas to hundreds or more in larger communities. And once again, if anyone you know is struggling with alcohol issues, please call Alcoholics Anonymous in 1300 222222 or visit their website on aa.org.au.